Well, what we should know at the moment is that the Canadian military has confirmed that one of its CH-148 Cyclone helicopters, one of the brand new helicopters that have been replacing the Sea Kings over the last few years, has been involved in an incident. They won't say that it's crashed, but they're saying that there's a developing incident taking place. What we are being told from local media in Greece and in the area is that a helicopter has indeed crashed. They named the helicopters coming from HMCS Fredericton. Now, Fredericton has been taking part in Operation Reassurance, which is the NATO mission to deter Russian aggression. And it was operating in an area between Greece and Italy. And we are told that the crash may have taken place in the Ionian Sea in international waters, and at about 80 kilometers off of the resort island of, I believe it's Kefalonia.
Yeah, correct, Kefalonia. What more can you tell us about, I know there are just early reports, we have no confirmation, but that there were, I think it's up to 6 people on board?
Yes, that's right. Well, I mean, a Cyclone helicopter has 4 crew members for the most part, depending upon the mission that it's on. And since they were taking part in a NATO mission, the principal use of the Cyclone helicopter is for anti-submarine warfare. So they could have been conducting some kind of nighttime exercise or early evening exercise when the incident took place. What we can also say is that there was some initial confusion about what kind of helicopter was involved and whether or not it was indeed Canadian, because we were getting conflicting reports coming out of the various media in that part of the world. Originally, it had been said that it was a Sea King helicopter that had crashed, and there's only one Navy right now that is still flying a Sea King helicopter, and that is the German Navy. And the Germans have a replenishment ship that is part of this NATO task group. So there was some initial confusion there that that's now been cleared up by the Canadian Defense Department.
And what about I understand at least there is some sort of search and rescue mission underway. The reports so far coming out of local media in Greece say that it's other NATO ships are conducting one. What might that look like?
Well, it would be difficult at the moment because it would be a nighttime operation. So they would have to have at least some of their helicopters, perhaps in the air, some of from the other naval ships, and they would have to be sweeping the area. Now, there is at least one report that the fuselage has been found, but that's definitely not been confirmed at the moment. But the conditions there would be rather difficult. The weather forecast in the area today, the Vashi was very good. The seas were reasonably calm, so that should help in the effort to locate the helicopter.
And what is Canada's contribution right now to, or level of involvement with Operation Reassurance?
Well, Canada is contributing a variety of assets to Operation Reassurance, principally from the naval standpoint. They have been, Canada's regularly been contributing a frigate to this standing task group. NATO has 2 task groups working in various parts of one in the north and one in the Mediterranean. Canada has routinely been part of the NATO task group 2. In fact, the Fredericton was just recently in the Black Sea, taking part in operations that were there. So it's a long-standing deployment. I think one of the things, though, that needs to be asked is if indeed a Cyclone helicopter has gone down. There's going to be a lot of questions because the Cyclone is a new helicopter, and there have been. It's been a very long time the Canadian Air Force has waited for the Cyclone, and I'm sure there's going to be some pretty hard questions to ask. But at the moment, it's a search and rescue operation, and there's hope that no one has been injured, but it's unclear right now what the condition of the crew might be.
And what do we know about you talk about the Cyclone? How does it handle water? Are there certain specific things about it that that might lend itself to this kind of situation?
Well, I mean, the Cyclone is a maritime helicopter, and one of the reasons it took so long to introduce it into the Canadian military was because it was a civilian helicopter built by Sikorsky, but it had to be militarized. It had to be hardened, is the term that a lot of the military folks use, and it had to be made more rugged for military operations, and that's why it took almost 12 years to properly develop the helicopter, and it's been introduced slowly into the service in the Canadian military because not all of the software was complete. Now these most military aircraft today are like flying iPods, and they will be operated mostly by their software. And some of the software that is operating on the Cyclone had to be introduced slowly, and that's been part of the problem. But I'd like to also point out that Canada is not necessarily the only one that has faced these kinds of problems introducing these new high-tech helicopters, because the Germans have been trying to replace their Sea Kings for maritime operations for a long time with the NH-90, and it's been just as difficult. So, but there are a lot of questions that will probably be asked if indeed this Cyclone helicopter has gone down.
And just one last question for you, Marie, before I let you go into recap for our viewers who might just be joining us right now. There are initial early reports that a Canadian NATO helicopter has gone missing in the sea off the coast of Greece, between Greece and Italy. You can see a map there in front of you. The Canadian Armed Forces has confirmed that they lost contact with the helicopter, but they have not confirmed whether or not, they don't know at this point, they're saying, Canadians were on board. Murray, pardon my ignorance, is there, in a NATO operation like this, because it's a Canadian helicopter, does that mean that Canadians necessarily are part of the crew, or does it, because it's a NATO operation, that could vary?
Well, it could vary because there are reports, and most of the reports that we're getting that it is a Canadian helicopter that has gone down are coming from local media in Greece. And while the Canadian Defense Department has confirmed that there has been an incident and there's a developing situation regarding one of their helicopters, it has yet to confirm that the helicopter has gone down. Mm-hmm. So a Cyclone would have up to 4 Canadian crew members on board. Now, if indeed there were 6, as local media reports suggest, then it could be transporting other members of the NATO task force. We have no idea right now what kind of mission that it was on. Was it training? Was it training for anti-submarine warfare? Or was it simply doing what would be considered to be a milk run between the various ships? So those are questions that are still going to have to be answered.
Okay, I'll leave it there, Marie, and I hope you don't mind. We'll keep checking in with you throughout the next hour if there are any updates. Really appreciate your time and your insights on this.
Happy to talk to you.